Hi everyone, my name is Bree Carmichael and I will be attending Indiana University of South Bend this upcoming fall, where I'll be pursuing my degree in small business and entrepreneurship in hopes of owning my own bakery in the future. As you can see, there is no dog here with me today, and that is unfortunately because my dog Zuko, who is a full German Rottweiler, was hit by a passing car in the middle of the night about a year and a half ago. And on our way to the emergency clinic, he took his last breath in my arms. Now, although I may be entirely missing the concept of show and tell, but I truly believe that my story and my situation are an ideal representation of the premise of this scholarship, which is to, of course, share your favorite experiences and memories with your dog, but to also share the greater impact that your dog has had on your life. Because I sincerely believe that dogs are able to impact people's lives in far more complex ways than they will ever realize. Because I know personally that I've never owned an animal that has had such an immense influence on my life as Zuko had. And this might sound a bit cliche, but honestly, there was never a dull moment with Zuko. He was my favorite part of each day, and we sort of destroyed the border between pet and owner, and we just sort of became best friends. But before I get into sharing my most memorable experience with Zuko, I'd like to start with where it all stemmed from, which is, of course, adoption day. So, Zuko was an AKC registered full German Rottweiler, which meant that my family and I had to go to a certified breeder to get him. We traveled nearly 2 hours just to find this little guy, and when we arrived, the breeders showed us 3 different puppies, 2 of which looked like your average and typical German Rottweiler puppies, and one that didn't quite fit in right. This one had long fur and scruffy ears, which is pretty atypical for German Rottweiler puppies. But although this little guy was the odd one out, my brother and I instantly fell in love with him because he looked like a little bear cub. And whenever we went to Petco or PetSmart, he instantly got attention as soon as we stepped in the doors because just of how much of a fluff ball he was and how much he resembled a bear cub. And it truly wasn't long before Zuko and I really established that relationship and became best friends. He sort of imprinted on me, and we went almost everywhere together. Like I said, there's never a dull moment with him. And at the time, I didn't truly realize how greatly Zuko would affect my life personally. Without going into too much detail, I was headed down a pretty bad path mentally, and I was sort of losing control of myself. And at the time, Zuko was my primary source of stability and happiness. He was what I looked forward to each and every day. He really made the days bearable, and he was just, like I said, he was just what I looked forward to each and every day. But moving on to my most memorable experience with Zuko, I remember the day so vividly because it's an experience that I will truly, truly never forget. To put it simply, this day in particular was quite a low point for me. I hadn't left my bed the entire day. I just stared out the window blankly, staring at the rain, and I didn't move an inch. But I just sort of watched as life continued on without me outside. But Zuko was there sitting at the foot of my bed the entire day. And it's kind of funny because one thing about Zuko is that he had a real knack for telling when I was upset. He would always repeatedly nudge me with his snout until I would get up, but despite his efforts, I was just not budging this time. I didn't want to get up until the peaceful drizzle that I was watching turn into a complete downpour. And, you know, rainy days and thunderstorms are Zuko and I's favorite thing. So naturally, I couldn't resist a day like that. Especially not with Zuko now scratching at the door, begging to be let outside. So we went outside and we chased each other around and wrestled and played tug of war for at least an hour because time was no limitation for us. And maybe this is an odd favorite memory to have, but I really chose this memory and I wanted to share it with you all because in that moment I was able to entirely forget myself and focus solely on Zuko. But even more importantly than that, I was able to really feel the weight and the significance of our bond that we shared together. And it's something that can never truly be replaced, and it will certainly always be missed. And I remember after Zuko passed, my friends and family would say things like, goodbyes are only temporary, and no one ever truly leaves, because although the deceased may not physically be here, their spirits remain alive in our hearts. And yes, I guess that's true, but I believe part of the reason why things like this are said is because we never truly allow ourselves to say goodbye, because naturally we are entirely afraid of endings. I know this was a friendship that I certainly didn't want to end. I never wanted to say goodbye. I lost my best friend that night, and I felt like I lost a part of myself even more. So after Zuko passed, I was just left with this insatiable desire for closure that never truly came. So with that being said, this is my personal tribute to Zuko and my final farewell to him. So rest in peace.